Star Trek: The Next Generation was a show.
Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Everybody I interacted with.
A show that I started watching when I was a really little kid.
Can you believe it's been 30 years? Star Trek: The Next Generation first.
Star Trek: The Next Generation was my life.
I really grew up with this show.
My relationship to how I should conduct myself. It was the escape from reality. Welcome to Next Generation's First Generation, where Patrick Delmore and Sascha Shouties take a look back into their favorite childhood show, Star Trek: The Next Generation. This is where we attempt to reconcile how we felt as children watching the show and looking back as old farts now in our late 30s, almost 40s. Social commentary and good old-fashioned shade-throwing on our favorite and least favorite episodes. Here comes Patrick and Sascha. Welcome to another episode of Next Generation's First Generation. This is a really exciting episode, Booby Trap. I am Sascha Shouties, your host. With us, we also have the Mr. Tom Delmore.
Yes, happy to be here.
And then we have the prodigy of Tom, which is Patrick.
Hello, everybody.
Yay! And then we also have the great Matthew.
Howdy.
I love the enthusiasm. It's great.
That's right.
Alright, so I want everybody to stand up and do 10 jumping jacks and get energized for this excellent episode.
Energized.
Because we have, for the first time ever, this is a Geordi episode.
Ooh.
And I don't think we've had one yet.
I think Arsenal of Freedom kind of counts as a Geordi episode where he was in command of the ship.
That's right, because he has this moment of leadership where Deanna makes that weird call and he's like, no, thank you very much, and I'm gonna do what I do. But here we get to see the characters really starting to fall in love, and we explore their personal lives and whatnot. So, anyway, this is a watch-along podcast, but that does not necessarily mean you need to have the DVD in front of your viewing cube. You can mow the lawn, make a cup of coffee, or walk the dog. But in case you are in front of the television and have the DVD, we're going to give you the countdown to cue it up. So if you're ready, here it goes. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
And this will be interesting. I've watched this in HD already, but this is a heavily effects-heavy episode. It'll be interesting to see what it looked like before Netflix cleaned it all up.
Oh, yes. So there's LeVar on the Days of Our Lives soundstage.
And she's not an unknown actress that he's with either. I looked her up. She's been in quite a few things. None of which I can remember off the top of my head now, but she was definitely well known in the 1980s as being kind of a that girl.
This looks like this date's not going anywhere.
No.
You can see it, the actors are playing cold.
That's like kids, when that happens, get the most aggressive fiddle player you can.
Playing the Hungarian dance number 5.
She's like, Brahms. What? Really?
Wait a minute, this is by Brahms. That's also the name of the engineer.
Crazy.
What do
it's
you
like
know?
right in her face.
How do you feel if a violin player came up and just started doing this to you?
It's almost the Fiddler on the Roof.
Mm-hmm.
Too chilly? I could turn down the breeze.
No, it's been a lovely program, and
Yeah.
You've had too many coconut drinks, I think.
Right. He's disappointed it's not working out.
Don't feel that way about you.
You know, it's kind of messed up in the future that, like, all dates are locking yourselves in a room with your partner. I mean, it'd be so hard, like, on a spaceship or, a submarine or a battleship to, I mean, they're not supposed to fraternize in those other settings, really.
Well,
so a spaceship wouldn't be that different.
It's the future equivalent to Netflix and chill. Only it's holodeck and chill. Hey, do you want to go holodeck and chill with me, Pat? The effects are great, them going through this field. Kind of makes me wonder what happens when the asteroids get a little too close. Do they just kind of get pushed out of the way?
That's what the deflectors are for. So you don't ever have to worry about that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I never thought about that. I always thought they bumped into them just because they're...
As they go through space, that's why they have deflector shields, because there's all kinds of stuff that would bump up against the ship.
Yeah, just a speck of dust at warp speed would just destroy you.
Go right through the ships.
So if Geordi just got out of his date, why did he get back into his uniform and go on to 10 forward? So there's Wesley and Data just playing some chess.
Yep. Geordi's two best friends on the ship.
Yeah.
We're picking up a signal. Coordinates 211.
And now this asteroid field that they're going through is debris from an exploded planet. Is that what we picked up?
It was a big it was a big space battle.
It was a long time ago too.
Yeah. Survivors on Orleans 9 after all this time?
Yeah.
Not possible.
Well, hardly possible.
Hardly possible. There is that one prepper who built his shed out of brick instead of wood.
Back in Paris.
Great shots,
Maybe
by
French,
the way.
but we'll speak proper English here.
That's
number
right.
one.
And I think the HD did have, that was not a side shot, but like a fully computer animated overhead shot of the Enterprise going in there.
Might have been.
Yeah.
There's John Luke's and Worf. They're totally crushing on the ship they just found.
It's Lang cycle fusion engines.
It's interesting that they know so much about.
What's a Lang cycle?
Yeah, that's what I like.
It's a made up word, but they've.
Belongs in a museum.
It would be interesting if they just dropped a line saying like, this was something they learned about from the Klingons or the Vulcans. Like, who told them about this? Because all this happened before Earth went to space.
Yeah, 1,000 years
Right,
ago.
but I mean, Picard references other archaeological things before. Because, he's an archaeologist by heart. So.
Which would be funny because Picard says the line, "This should belong in a museum," and then you see Indiana Jones come running and says, "It belongs in a museum!"
That's right.
And then a whole bunch of Nazis are chasing him. Well, through the magic of time travel, we may have just watched that and recorded it for our Shore Leave series. By the way, this is a good plug for you to head on over to the Two True Freaks Network, and you will see a number of films we have reviewed over the summer of 2018 and 2019. So, this is season number 3. Can you believe it? The 6th episode. This episode was directed by Gabriel Beaumont.
Beaumont. Beau or Boo?
Beau.
Man.
So Michael Wagner and Ron Roman did the story. The teleplay was by a whole bunch of people I don't really bother to read. Basically because the links on the Wikipedia page are red and not blue, so it means I can't click it and find out who they are. Ron Jones did the music.
And you can tell it's really good.
Mm-hmm. And so this came out October 30th, 1989. So you are waiting for Halloween. It's tomorrow.
Yeah.
You are about to gear up your house and have tons of kids knocking on the door and asking for free candy. Will you accept that quest? No one knows but you. Anyway, we have a lot of special guests in this. Whoopi Goldberg is back. Cole Meany, of course. We have Albert Hall, which is kind of cool. Julie Warner. And the computer voice, of course. I guess she's a guest star because they're using her as a computer voice. Majel Barrett.
That is a pretty good model there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really good shot of the Enterprise.
Beautiful.
I would prefer it if Lieutenant Worf and I were able to run a security sweep of the ship first.
No, we cannot. Wow, look at that. The captain's wearing a tricorder.
It always looks so clunky. They've got that Velcro loop and the...
That's what I always liked about the Enterprise, the series Enterprise, their uniforms. There was actually a utility uniform, with pockets.
Where they just zipped down and pulled out their thing.
Yeah.
Anytime the captain leaves his ship, it's a major imposition.
Yeah. Well, and I would imagine anytime the commander or the lieutenant commander leaves the ship, it's a major imposition, too.
So this kind of goes into Picard's childhood. He's always been obsessed with space and travel, and he's had models.
And a good bottle of wine.
Yeah.
See?
Oh, come on. You guys, a Klingon and an android, have never built a ship in a bottle.
Yeah. Where are you from?
Yeah.
Well, if you remember in Season 2... Worf tried very briefly to make a model ship. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was It was in that Ferengi episode where they were doing the battle games.
And Geordi did make a gigantic model ship in the last season.
Yeah, that's right.
Of course, he's not in the room to talk about it.
Yeah. Ships and bottles.
Well, Mr. Riker, you're captain now. Let's leave.
Yeah.
This is the exact moment where Riker starts to loathe O'Brien. It's like, really? Ships in a bottle? Suck up.
Yeah, I got left alone in Alaska by my dad when I was 8. No, I did never make a ship in a bottle. I had to learn how to make a fire alone in the wilderness.
Well, his first big decision that Riker had to make was not to tell the captain there was a diminishment on the ship as soon as they left.
I know.
That's me and the captain. I'm going to handle this myself.
It's like, it's interesting. It looked different on the outside, but on the inside it's clearly a set designed by the people that designed the sets for Star Trek.
This is considered the 14th best holodeck episode of the franchise, by the way.
14th.
Yeah. There's a toss-up in number 13, though. Oops. His hair is still there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, hair doesn't really go away.
No. Neither does a big skull bone.
It's like, Worf's like, wow, I want to die at my post one day.
Yeah. My finger on the trigger.
Data's like, wish granted!
Yeah. Oops, sorry about that, Worf.
We expect a bridge layout this year.
Clumsy. Awkward.
Why would a bridge ever be laid out clumsy? That's what
Yeah, because they're just such Stonehenge-type people.
Elegant, functional.
All their hips would be injured because they had to run around all the time eating stuff. Ow.
The Enterprise bridge is clumsy and awkward.
Yeah, they got that stupid chair rail in there.
When they got anytime Worf, his security chief has to defend the captain, he's got to run down halfway and then jump over a railing.
Open up like a half bar, run through there.
Yeah.
So here's the talk.
My mom.
Well, last time I checked, I was a woman.
I won an Academy Award, too.
She's won every major award that exists, Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah.
She's won a Tony?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. She's an ingot holder.
He's mine, of course.
Oh, this is where she kind of hints at she likes bald men.
The guys from South Park only have to win an Oscar, and they'll be ingot holders.
Oh, really?
They won a Tony also?
For Book of Mormon.
That's right.
God.
I know.
I hate those guys.
All those guys can retire then, damn it. They're young.
Take care of yourself. I mean, take care of somebody.
Now, this is a really interesting role definitions conversation.
Yeah, because Guinan is not about, like, a man and a woman get together and, do what a man and a woman do by, having dates and stuff. She's like, Geordi, if I didn't know you wouldn't be into it, we'd be in my quarters right now.
But
the better is you just need Deanna to run and go, stop doing my job!
Yeah. I was going to say, Deanna, it's like she's a more easygoing, telepath or something.
Not only is she easygoing, but she's not big on confidentiality. She's like, Ensign Martinez is going through something very similar. I think the two of you would enjoy having lunch.
That's right.
Let me set that up.
If his rash isn't acting up on him again.
I still maintain that they should have kept Ensign Gomez and they could have had a relationship there between her and
That was the
Geordi.
plan.
Yeah, that was the original plan.
And they could have, that could have been her in the scene on the date.
The source of the distress of
Well, this goes into, television in the 80s and 90s was everything returns back to normal at the end of the episode. So you can't have too much variance.
A lot of dust on here must be from skin tags.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
You're all dead for so long.
you're breathing people.
Right.
this is an information.
Now, if that ship was in a vacuum now, which would explain why the crew hasn't turned to complete dust, how does dust settle in a vacuum?
Yeah, well, gravity.
Well, the environmental services still work on the ship, so they're...
But then the bodies wouldn't be that well preserved.
No, they wouldn't.
Once they turn it all on, they decompose faster.
Oh, man.
Questionable, sir.
This reminds me of our 2001 Space Odyssey conversation we had earlier today, where the astronauts really weren't in space.
My tricord.
See Data talking about this module. Goes, you know, it holds almost 800 songs, almost as many as my Zune.
There's a captain's log.
They're almost like the rings from the Time Machine movie.
Oh, yeah.
Spin those.
Oh, wow, that's live translation. Look at that.
Yeah, how did their translator and their tricorder get his mouth to reform his mouth speaking?
I'm just impressed it's in color. I thought it'd be black and white.
Why is this recorded on a wax cylinder?
This log is so old and clumsy.
Yeah.
I'm just glad it's a circular screen rather than a 4x3. That would have really bugged me.
I think we have seen all there is to see here.
And I'm not impressed.
Yeah.
I'm going back and saying pshaw to this whole thing.
Well, the captain beams back.
Thrilling.
Oh,
Thrilling.
she's got her hiking boot, high heels, and really strange looking.
Riker
dress.
likes to bring her up on deck when the captain's not there.
Yeah, so you dressed for the occasion.
Yeah.
My own counterpart. The captain's.
Yeah, they kept messing with Deanna's style. I really feel sorry for the actress that she had to put up with all the changes. You don't see them doing this with Riker too much, or Worf, or anybody like that. It's they found their look right away.
Well, they've given her a second chance as she's a regular cast member on the Orville now.
Oh yeah.
Is she?
Yep. She's the school teacher on the show now.
Yeah, and she looks perfectly good. Normal.
Mr. Crusher, set course for the original.
Yeah, she always seems like she's wearing too much makeup.
She's the head of the Israeli Secret Service on NCIS, too.
Oh, really? Cool.
Head of Mossad.
Nice. So more ship problems. We go into the this is where the A plot kind of goes into the B plot.
Yellow alert.
Oh,
Picard would be like, number one, when I left, the batteries were fully charged.
That's right. Yeah.
Like we talked about in the last episode, the family is on this ship who have to be so nervous because doesn't everybody on the ship know when they're on red or yellow alert? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, what's going on?
Well, when they write their memoirs, half it's spent underneath their desk.
Yeah.
When I worked at a prison and now I work at a mental health facility. And so whenever, like, an emergency would happen, you'd hear it announced on the radio. So, like, our hospital, it's code gray, which means, like, a combative patient. And then at the prison, they would just put this tone over the radio. And it was both are massive facilities where you hear this emergency code go on the radio and just like, I have to sit here while someone is getting beat up.
I was usually the one who responded to those.
Yeah, and so to kind of put it to what you're saying, Patrick, you're this kid, and you see the alarm is flashing, red alert, and that someone is probably in some serious.
Yeah, you were standing
morbid
there when the Borg cut that section out of the ship, and everybody died.
and you just watch your friend Timmy kind of go up with the wreckage through the ceiling.
Mom, are you coming home for dinner tonight?
On the other hand, though, and they talked about this in the last episode when with Wesley said is, these are all Starfleet families who were briefed and trained on you're going on this ship and there's a good chance people are going to die and that you need to be ready and you need to expect it. And again, that's why they supposedly have Deanna Troi there.
Yeah.
To help with them deal with the fact that every other day there's something trying to blow them up, eat them, or cut them up.
Well, that's why I recommend the audience to go back and listen to our previously recorded episode of The Bonding, which just came out earlier in October, where we talked just about that, PTSD children in space.
Yeah. Forthcoming book.
Any mention of a situation like this.
Jesus, Data.
So Data is
Shut you off tonight.
Data's looking for a solution and they can't find one. So the problem is the ship is stuck. They can't generate a warp field. They can't use their impulse engines. It's just not moving.
Negligible.
Won't do much for our energy conservation.
Worf's got such a I don't know, I'm an idiot look sometimes.
Up and running.
Huh?
You join Commander Riker on the away team. Find out what happened on that ship.
But you were just there. Why do I have to go back?
It's kind of cool.
Isn't your hand still stamped?
And he checks his hand. Look at that. Well timed.
Computer, as we increased our power levels, was there any counter reaction?
So Geordi would be the modern Siri or Alexa user today.
So it kept us from forming a substance.
You ever hear of people who reprogram their Alexas to say intruder alert, and then the green lights would turn on and they would play Resistance is Futile on the loudspeakers?
Jeez.
Hey Google, how do I reset the warp nacelle?
Yeah.
Computer. Who is this L. Brown?
Well, L. Brahms is the engineer. It's your counterpart who designed the ship. And also, Brahms was the person who wrote that lovely piece of violin music we heard.
Yeah, why'd you put that violin player in there?
How funny would it be when he goes to the holodeck to bring up Leo Brahms? It's the violin player.
Yeah. Hello!
I can only talk to you while I'm playing. I'm sorry.
Looks like she wrote the book on propulsion. No, you're thinking of Isaac Newton.
Yeah. He was the first to drop the apple on his head.
Oh, boy.
Geordi LaForge. How you doing, Doc?
Specified program.
Oh, so he's talking to her right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they've done that. They basically did this same story, but just for, specifically for dating on the Orville with the cell phone that they found.
I thought it was when Isaac was dating the doctor.
They did that, and then, of course, the one where Bortus had the cheating program.
Oh.
That was both hilarious and disturbing at the same time.
That's the one you haven't seen that one yet.
Where they got the virus?
He's having trouble with his husband, so it's all these sex scenarios, and then they can't do anything without a bunch of men from Bortus' species walking naked into the room that they're working in.
So Data's found a whole bunch of data storage devices on the alien ship. They're going to bring it back and analyze what happened to the ship. Meanwhile, Geordi is talking to the owner's manual of the Enterprise to figure out why aren't we moving.
Reorienting the crystal.
It is possible to reorient the crystal. The key lies in adjusting the lattice structure.
Do you think the Ferengi have like a Kelly Blue Book for starships?
Yeah,
Maybe.
Sorry, can't wait.
probably some sort of value guide.
Yeah.
2 hours to figure this thing out. You know what I need to do?
I wonder what the value on a used starship is.
I need to be able to turn that thing
I'd buy it.
inside out.
I'd go for a runabout, and that's like the Winnebago of spaceships.
I mean, it depends what you're going to sell it for, though. Because I wouldn't sell a Federation ship to as a fighting ship. You'd want a Klingon, right? Or a Romulan ship. It's like all weapons.
Would you pay extra for the cloaking device if you bought one?
Probably.
We can give you a cloaking device, but it's $7 million more.
I mean, this is like a Tesla versus getting a Humvee. What are you going to do with it? You know?
Also, you have to come out of cloak to fire your weapon, which is the dumbest
Which
thing.
is really is. You think it'd be as intelligent as they are. We've never had.
I mean, if you can push something out of an airlock, why do you have to?
yeah.
Well, it's an agreed upon part of the rules of engagement in that universe.
Yeah, well, they
'Cause you
developed
can't-
one in Star Trek 6.
I know.
What gets me is that no one's ever been able to think of it again.
Because
It's too expensive.
It was basically, it would be like breaking the Geneva Convention.
This is beautiful. Where there's a skeleton hull of the Enterprise there. I have that model, or had that model as a
Yeah,
kid.
a lot of people had that model.
Oh, it's a great model.
I had the micro machine of that.
Yeah,
Those were really
machines, yeah.
fun. Especially because they all had wheels.
I had a B-52 Stratofortress hanging from my ceiling.
Nice.
One of those, too.
How's that related to Star Trek? What the hell, man?
Back 1,000 years. You see, they already did 1,000 years, Sasha. They can go further back if they have to.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. I always liked sci-fi's use of printed glass as a bulletin board, which just absolutely does not work in real life.
Well, there's a guy who drives an Audi that has one, and he starts his car, but it all shows up on his windshield.
Oh, a heads-up display?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
Mercedes, so you can buy aftermarket ones and plug them in. It'll show you speed, which direction you're heading, and
Right.
stuff like that. You plug it into the little computer node under your dashboard there. But higher-end cars come with them standard now.
Nice.
Well, this is that's actually relatively old technology. Been using that in planes and airplanes back in the 80s, in fighter planes.
Now, why would the hologram reach out and touch him on the shoulder
right.
like that?
Hubba.
He's giving her elevator eyes.
Yeah.
There is not much to look at right there. She is dressed conservatively.
That's right.
Turtleneck and
Yeah, she's a engineer though, right?
Yeah.
As engineers.
well, she's the designer.
She's not wearing glasses though, which kind of.
You asked Dr. Brock to show you which system could accept.
So I turned myself into Dr. Brahms. It's not weird. Just pretend it's me.
Tomorrow I'll do Adolf Hitler if you want.
So,
Jordy, you're used to weird things with women, so we just assumed you wanted to go this route.
so to be clear, Geordi never asked for this character to be created. The computer created that.
Right. And they went visual. He asked for audio.
Your analysis.
Systems L45
And what does he see? I mean, he's not seeing what we see.
No.
Providing all of the systems are calibrated to an equal
I can't
size.
believe that I'm older than these two actors right now.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It bothers me a lot.
We could do it. We could hold
What
on.
really bothered me was the first time I found out I was older than the Playmate of the Month.
Oh,
And you look at that and you're just like, ugh.
Geordi, can you give us enough power?
Susan, that's her name.
We haven't addressed that.
Playmate of the month?
Gibney. No, Susan Gibney here.
Yeah.
She was born in 1961.
She comes back in Deep Space Nine.
Really?
And on this show, too.
Yeah, on this show. But
She played a different character on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, she played a captain.
She's only 28 right there. Can you believe that?
Yeah, and she's already got a degree from the Daystrom Institute.
Yeah. She's 57 here in
Well,
real
so
life.
did Sonia Gomez have a degree from the Daystrom Institute. That's why she got on the ship. And she was
Yeah.
super young as well.
Well,
And you got Wesley working on his correspondence degree.
she was a villain in The Great White Hype. Didn't know that.
And The Great White Hope?
Hype.
Oh, Hype, yes. I remember that movie. It's a Wayans Brothers movie, isn't it?
If I were Dade, I'd look at Picard and be like, so much for nothing more of interest or value.
Right, yeah.
So you said she was a captain in Deep Space Nine?
She played in the 2-story arc where they go back, where the changelings,
Homefront and
Homefront
Paradise
and
Lost.
Paradise Lost. She was the captain of the Excelsior
Right.
class.
And
that
she
goes,
was the attaché that walked back and forth with the Admiral,
yeah,
right?
with Admiral Layton.
Wow.
Sad that I know that.
Well, it's a good show, man. If you're
It
going to
was.
burn something to memory, I mean, it's good that it was that, not like, I don't know, Days of Our Lives.
Yeah, or something useful I could do in my job, or make money off of.
So obviously we've been really enthralled with the plot here. Geordi is still troubleshooting with the help desk of the Enterprise.
Never mind the dates. Computer, if you add...
It's like all those weird people who like try to imagine actually meeting Siri from Apple.
Yeah. One of the debates she had is like, if somebody made a hologram of me without my consent, I would be very upset.
I can live with that.
And
Do it.
I don't think I'd have a problem with it.
I'd be extremely creeped out.
Yeah? Well, I mean, my intention, I would assume that they don't want to do anything bad or dirty with
You
my
assume
hologram.
that, but
yeah, I
so
just-
then they're going to cover that in one of the and I'm not sure where it ranks in the holodeck episodes, but the one where they introduce Reginald Barclay
yeah.
in
Oh,
Hollow Pursuits.
that's coming up in
Yeah.
a few episodes, and
He's creating all those Robin Hood images of the cat of the crew
yeah,
and changing their personalities and whatnot. And yeah, I would be just as freaked out as Riker or the others.
And-
in that. Just,
They don't say it until Deep Space Nine, but it's like the holodeck would primarily be used for sex.
yeah, that's
And so any time you hear somebody made a hologram of you, you're like, I'm gonna have to start at the worst and work my way back.
yeah, true.
yeah. The creepiest thing though is that you can do that without do you have permission to create historical figures? Be one thing. It was like I want to make a recreation of George Washington.
Right.
But current members of the crew, I want to, make me a Captain Picard. The computer should be like, why do you need a recreation of the commanding officer of the ship you're
When he's
standing
right
on?
here.
So I've thought about this, and here was my solution, my technical walk around. So if I go to the holodeck and I create like a holodeck image of you, Matt, that the person who materialized in front of me would have like an off-color tone skin, like you'd be purple, or you'd have a green stripe across your forehead, or just something to indicate that this is a copy and not the real person. But then Well, what did Red Dwarf do? They just put a big H on their forehead.
So it's like a photograph with a stamp in it. You know, it's like you hear
watermark.
right, a watermark.
Yeah.
You'd have to have a watermark in order to say.
And I'd also like, if I were the captain of the ship, I'd have the computer alert me anytime any of the command crew is replicated,
Yeah.
or if somebody makes a copy of the bridge. You'll notice they're able to do that pretty often.
Right.
It's like, why do you need this? I mean, this is still a military ship.
And they showed that in Elementary Dear Data that you could control the entire ship from the holodeck too.
So yeah, it's just one of those. It shouldn't be that easy.
And also, Wesley had that little box that imitated Picard's voice.
Oh,
and did all that stuff. And if you just made him in the holodeck, and making videos to blackmail people, like how do we know that?
Yeah, there's any number of. I mean, they cover that in Deep Space Nine, where they make the fake Dominion War Council meeting on the holodeck and record it, so they can trick the Romulans into the war.
So back to the plot, Geordi and Dr. Leia Brahms here had an argument about the ship might explode, and I thought it was weird how he was arguing with a hologram. It was just like if you saw it, he was shouting. He's like, "This whole thing is gonna go." Whew!
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing he's doing with the holographic girl he just created.
Right. Oh,
Don't go away.
computer, save program.
Yeah.
I mean, computer save program.
Wait, I love you, George.
Yeah.
Geordi!
Devices do we think we're dealing with, Mr. Data?
It's like 500 first dates. You start up again. You
Yeah.
start from the beginning.
The weirdest thing is, there's got to be what? It's 1,000 members of the crew, right? So you got to figure a minimum 100, maybe even 200 are engineering level, right?
Right.
He hasn't talked to one of them.
I know.
Not one of them. All these people are walking around engineering like, well, we're losing power.
You'll never
Should
get
I-
my job.
Yeah, should I continue just tapping buttons, or maybe we should be working on something? No, he's in the holodeck.
That's what I
No.
loved about Battlestar Galactica, is that you had people dive into their own departments. And the whole episode would be about one department sometime and saying, well, if we do this, we kill 15 people. You know?
I mean,
They
again,
were
going back to
expendable.
that episode, Hollow Pursuits, you'll see Geordi call a council of his engineers. He gets Wesley down there, and Miles and Barclay and all these other just to fix a hand cart.
Look at how Barclay is treated by everybody, though. That's if Geordi was consulting with just one of his engineers, and Riker came down to see what he was doing, he's like, "Who are you talking to, Geordi?" "Oh, Lieutenant, Klingeman." "Klingeman? Never heard of him." "How long has he been on the Enterprise?"
7 years.
So yeah, you think he's a good resource? Okay. And he goes up, to Picard. It's like, Geordi's down there talking to some guy named Klingeman. Have you heard of this guy, Klingeman?
Not since the
Bring up
Klingeman factor.
bring up his crew file. Huh? Yeah, I don't know. We better leave him at the next starbase.
So the Enterprise just fired at a couple of asteroids where these generators are hiding, hoping that would cause the generators to overload. But what happens was it just fed them more power, and the generators are draining more power from the Enterprise. And the holodeck got shut down because of it.
Yeah, so the Enterprise is losing energy rapidly, and he's on the holodeck. He's like the guy when the power goes out who decides to use his phone to watch YouTube videos instead of saving it to call for help.
Yep.
Shield based on current calculations. Under 2 hours.
And let's go to war. While we're talking
This
about it.
is going to be like the third instance where the Enterprise has just lost all power. Remember in that one episode, the final outpost or something like that?
Last
the last
outpost.
outpost. And they wanted to euthanize Wesley so he could go out as a man rather than a person huddled in a blanket.
Thank you.
I've gone back to the beginning, to the earliest construction entries of the Enterprise.
So now Geordi's laying down the explanation to the captain on how to fix this problem.
Computer, reinstate holodeck 3 program.
How did he know he was on holodeck 3?
Mr. LaForge.
That's Geordi's special holodeck.
Best
Yeah.
suggestion, 1 hour.
Well, it's just kind of like how there's always a holodeck too, because they never
Nobody
put
in
the
engineering there either. Not
Captain
one
Picard
person.
only uses one.
Yeah.
S3 program.
Enter when ready.
Whoa, wrong one.
Yeah. Holodeck 1 is the one that has an actual jacuzzi in it.
Yeah.
We got a booby trap in each energy provider.
Sorry, this is Riker's program.
Okay. We know that for every move the Enterprise makes,
So they've got to work it out. What we've kind of walked all over and never really acknowledged is that Geordi is building an intimate professional bond with this character. Which, I don't know, do you think that really can happen in the workplace?
Oh, yeah.
But
Where
she's
you're-
not real. That's the problem.
Well, that's the whole beauty of the holodeck is you're allowed to be taken up by the fantasy.
But remember, this is not her. This is not really her. And they'll go over this when her character returns.
Oh, yes.
But that's the thing. It would be like somebody who basically comes and, you hire somebody and go, "Hey, Sasha, I've been listening to your podcasts for the last 3 years. So I just kind of made a representation of what you're like and became, and I consider myself your best friend now."
Well, there is an interaction going on. I mean, legitimately, it's with the computer that thinks that he wants shoulder rubs and stuff. But it's the same as if, say, you're on like an old internet chat room, or you were writing letters anonymously to somebody, and that person decided from those letters what kind of a person you were, what you looked like, and all this. And then they met you in real life, and you're like not the same age as you said you were, not the same gender as you said you were, perhaps. Those feelings that they had for that person that didn't exist were still very real feelings.
But falling in love with an idea is just as the same as falling in love.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
I mean, look at crushing on your favorite celebrity, for example. And there are people who take it too far, and there are people who understand that's the fantasy world. But, like, for example, I love Jewel State. She's amazing. But that doesn't mean that I believe that she's flying around in a ship somewhere.
See, that's more how Geordi introduced her. That's more credentials than anybody that works under him has.
Oh, and he introduced her as doctor to the captain?
If I were Picard, I'd be like, "Where's the rest of your team?" I assumed that you were utilizing one of the 200
they're all sleeping
engineers
right now.
that we've brought on board for you. What are they all doing? Cleaning waste extraction?
Now, here's the bigger thing. Did Geordi actually introduce her as a hologram?
He started to introduce her as a person, but
right, then he went to
himself.
hologram.
Oh, okay. Because I wonder if that would be considered a social faux pas. Like, how dare you introduce me to this hologram?
Well, no, he plays as Dixon Hill.
Hey, there's his crystal.
He's pretty.
Yeah, crystal. They should put that in the warp core and smoke it.
He's come up with something that may give us a chance. If we agree to stay out of it.
What does that mean?
He proposes to turn total control of the ship.
That's a really unusual statement for him to make. Geordi says that we have a chance to get out of this if we agree to stay out of it.
Yeah, if we mind our own business and just trust Geordi.
If he succeeds, we demote him.
Yeah.
Well, we all die. It doesn't matter.
So again, why to Matt's credit, why aren't there a couple other people from his department in that lab, at least there in the background,
Checking his work.
Yeah,
at minimum.
That'd be like if when Apollo 13 messed up, they're just like, here's a tape recording of all of the sessions that we had about how the ship worked. We're going to give it to one guy to go in a room.
Pretty much that's what it is. Instead of, everybody in NASA working through this, it's like, hey, Pat, your job is to get the spacecraft back to Earth. The rest of us are going to go over here and look concerned.
I mean, they hadn't made the movie Apollo 13 yet, but it's one of the greatest, I think one of the better scenes in film history is how they set those guys up and are like, you got to literally get a square peg to fit through a round hole, and this is all the materials that exist.
Oh yeah, and when they take those engineers and just dump out that box and say you can only use this.
So here's something unrelated but funny. So this actress here, Susan, she was in 24, and if you know anything about 24, the idea is that it's a 24-hour story arc.
Right.
So the episode she is in is called Day 2, 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. That's the name of the episode.
10 to 11, huh?
Yeah,
Look up what
Prime time.
look up what the gal that Geordi was on the date with was in, because she was in a lot of stuff too.
Definitely. What was her name? Do we know? Christy, I think, is her name. Julie Warner was the actress. February 9th, 1965, from Manhattan.
Quite a bit younger than Geordi, because he's 1955.
So let's look at her career. So she was in 2 Star Trek episodes, Booby Trap and Transfigurations.
Same character?
Don't know.
Turn it completely around. Literally, come at it from the opposite direction.
I think
She
it
was
was.
in Nip Tuck,
It might even work.
Stick It. She was in an episode of House. She was in Dexter. Here we go. Filmography. Here we go. Tommy Boy, Wedding Bell Blues, Stick It, Forever Young. Or no, Forever Strong. My mistake. 21 Jump Street.
The best piece of engineering we'll ever need.
Didn't your researchers indicate?
Yeah, just a lot of bad TV she
Yeah.
was in.
Not if we shut everything.
Tommy Boy's a good movie.
And in Grey's Anatomy.
Everything we've got left
And
for
Code
us.
Black.
Black Sheep better.
Yeah.
Really?
Except for minimum
If I had to choose one
Yeah.
out of the, Chris Farley.
I mean, Rob Lowe is a good villain. I do.
So who's Gaelic Dar in this?
The captain of the ship, I think.
Was that the captain?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Decomposing Captain number 1.
So he was by a guy named Albert Hall, and he was in Apocalypse Now.
Hey.
Forget the numbers. There's no
And Ally McBeal.
Yeah, Ally McBeal.
Wow, that was a show. We're getting way off plot. So basically, what they're working out is that the ship has to commit all its thruster power into one boost to build up the inertia to glide out of the asteroid field before everyone dies of radiation poisoning. So the problem is not running out of heat, light, air, gravity. The problem is we're going to get really sunburned here in a little bit if we stick around too much longer.
So here, Captain Picard's going to fly the ship.
That's
With
right.
basically with a joystick.
Well, that was his first. That was his first job. He was a controller for a very long
A
time.
helm?
A helmsman.
But the position was called flight controller,
So brace yourself.
and the flight controller worked at the helm.
Lethal radiation levels.
Computer,
Fatal exposure.
discontinue radiation warning.
Yeah, but it's been a long time. I mean, Riker's an accomplished pilot.
Best pilot on the ship.
Data can, react faster. And even Geordi was a shuttle pilot. That's how they met. He met Geordi.
So this is 2 times in one episode where we've had captain's privilege.
But because he's going to be responsible for anybody that dies.
He
That's
wants
why
to
he's
take their
doing it.
lives. And
Yeah.
if we're gonna die, it's because of me,
But-
not because of Riker.
Yeah, I guess. But, I mean, the captain's responsible for anything that happens. Even if he's not on the bridge, he's still responsible on a military ship. I mean, he could be asleep in his quarters, and if they they bump into something, he's still at fault.
Per second.
I tripped over a spot. It's the captain's fault.
The debris field in 8 seconds.
So this is kind of good footage here. I always like the asteroid field. Excellent lighting in this episode. They rely heavily on their flashers and instrument panels. If you noticed, the engineering was really well lit. Just by the warp core, they turned off all the surrounding lights.
1-0.
And I'm wondering if they used this episode as a way to play with the lighting for yesterday's Enterprise.
Could be.
Because you remembered yesterday's Enterprise, that was a really dark ship.
All other ships, other than the main bridge, are dark. You think about it. No other ship is really lit up on the bridge.
Really? Yeah, that's right.
Even in the movies, the Enterprise bridge. On the Enterprise E, the bridge is really dark.
Huh.
Yeah, Voyager's bridge is really dark.
Yeah, Enterprises, so is the Defiant. None of them are just brightly... I mean, maybe it's the wall color, because the other bridges on those shows, they're all that gunmetal gray. This is that taupe. Like you're in the waiting room for the dentist kind of thing.
This one just looks like it's a decorator's dream. It's carpet everywhere. Hey, there's a big asteroid.
The asteroid's gravitation is drawing us closer. Velocity is increasing.
Just a minute. Almost.
Boomerang around it. It's so neat to see the ship
velocity is still
powered down like that. I just geek out whenever I see something out of the ordinary with the Enterprise.
I always felt they never did enough Sascha separation.
I agree.
Yeah.
But it was never an action show, though.
I think it was too easy of a plot device, to tell you the truth. So basically, the Enterprise swung dance its way out of danger.
Excellent.
Yes, I know. I just did it.
Why didn't Troy just speak the obvious?
You see everyone.
There's a lot of tension on the ship I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
Riker's not the only one with smooth hands.
Well, our Mr. LaForge is a fine engineer. It is I who can think my way out of a trap. Thanks, Captain.
Yeah. Oh, you're still here?
Isn't there a holodeck program waiting for you to consummate it or something?
It's too bad that they destroyed this old ship.
I always thought the technology could solve almost anything.
Did they kiss yet?
No.
No.
I don't think they
Oh,
are.
is this where they kiss?
Yeah, I think it is.
That's us traveling.
Wouldn't you think he'd do a star date to all the other ships to say there might be 1,000-year-old traps out there
Right.
somewhere in the universe, since they just found a big one?
Oh, they find them all the time. Look at landmines.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
50 years later, they still find these bombs buried in the ground. I know I talk a lot about Germany, and in Germany, you can have an entire career of just scanning and disposing of old World War II bombs when you want to break new land for a building.
They found one, didn't they, in Frankfurt just recently?
Yeah, they're finding them all the time.
It was not a landmine. It was a bomb that the Americans had dropped.
Yeah, and then they have to,
some guy's barn.
And they have to do something ridiculous like evacuate 30, 40, 50,000 people and say everybody's got to leave these few square kilometers.
Well, a lot of the bombs we dropped were incendiary bombs.
My grandmother has a phosphorus burn on the top of her head from that. It's
Yikes.
Yeah, so there's those kind of things, especially if you're in like a barn or a field or something, you let off one of those things, and assuming that, because we dropped them in clusters too, so if there's one there could be 5 or 10.
That's right.
And
So
that was Booby Trap.
here's what happened. Geordi was looking for a solution. He didn't consult his team. He went to talk to the tech manual on the holodeck. The tech manual spontaneously created a body in which he could talk to, touch, and interact with. And he became bonded to the tech manual. The tech manual, just trying to make him feel comfortable, starts falling in love with him. And they get out of danger. Geordi comes back to say, hey, the plan worked, and they kiss. What?
Yeah.
I've never made out with Mike Chilton's guide when I needed to change the oil.
Where's that blue book?
So where's Data? How would Data take care of all this? So he's like, Data's got tech manuals, so I'm sure that he's got to interact with all the time. So I don't know.
Out of 5 Hungarian symphonies, how many do you give it?
5 Hungarian symphonies. I would have to give it a solid 3.
Yeah.
Because, I like anything that develops the struggles of a character. And if you really wanted to look into the heart of Geordi, he was hurting at the beginning of that episode. He was a little rejected, but the true love is his work. That's what I got from this. Is that he is in love with the ship. And so he literally fell in love with the technical manual, which I find hilarious.
I will also give it 3. It is really entertaining. You could have had the end music be that, you don't know what it's like to be the sad man.
I was also thinking of that, you don't know what it's like to be me.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you could go. So you say you're also a 3?
I'm also a
Pat?
3.
All right, Mr. Matt, how do you roll this?
I'm gonna go with 3 also.
I'm gonna stick
There's
with
a
3.
lot of holes in this, and there's a lot of stuff that just didn't make sense. But yeah, it was a good find out. I mean, personality-wise, if anything, you find out that one, O'Brien's a suck-up.
Yeah.
kissing Picard's ass right in front of the rest of the senior staff.
Yep. Oh, well, yeah, he's a yes man for sure.
Yeah, and so you get that, and then you get just find out. I mean, everyone talks about how you get his personality, but it shows Geordi's actually kind of creepy.
Yeah, I agree.
That's creepy.
What's creepy about it?
He's making holograms of people he's never met, and he's getting intimate with them. It'd be like if you came. It's like if you had the person you call for tech support for your computer, and you one day met them and found that they have your pictures of you in their room and recordings of your voice. It's that level of creepy.
His best friend are an android and a kid.
Yeah, an android, a weird little kid, and now apparently the hologram of a woman he's never met.
A woman who built the ship that he loves.
Yes.
You can throw that in there, but
I was born for this job.
It's creepy.
I don't know. I don't mind being friends with an android. I don't mind being friends with the teenager. I don't mind falling in love with my job. But what I do mind is crossing that boundary of not engaging with real people. It's kind of like falling in love with your Tagamachi pet.
Yeah, Tamagotchi.
Yeah.
It is, and it's creepy. And even Picard, when he walks in there, he's just short of going, the hell is...
Yeah.
Because he clearly thought he'd be walking
We're done.
He'd be walking in a room and it would be jammed with engineers and technical schematics.
And he made that comment, well, Geordi's got a solution as long as we keep out of it.
Yeah, so long
that?
as we don't go in there. And I mean it, number one. For God's sakes, do not go in there.
Never, never.
I'm just going to sit here and stare out into space, trying to forget what I saw.
Troy's like, I never realized it, but Geordi is so suited to his work. He's really in his element. If you were feeling what I was feeling right now, it's quite fascinating.
Well, that's really funny because later on in the Voyager series, what's-her-face, Troy, works hard with Barclay to get him out of the holodeck. Like, that's kind of an ongoing thing, which I'd love to see more involvement from Deanna, but obviously we're never going to hear how that character feels because the show's been over for a long time.
She could show up on Star Trek Picard.
Yeah, and watch Barclay still there in the holodeck. That would be absolutely hilarious. So Tom, you said you wanted to have it at a 3 as well?
3 as well. I thought it was second time through to see it the last week, so it didn't diminish for me at all. It was good.
That's great.
Very good.
Okay, well, we're just about wrapping things up here. We'd like to thank you for listening. Please check in our other episodes of Next Generation, First Generation. So Next Gen, First Gen Pod at gmail.com is our email address. Feel free to write the show. Also, we'd like you to check out some of the programming on the Two True Freaks Network. You just Google Two True Freaks, and you'll find a webpage full of podcasts. And in that webpage full of podcasts, you will find our Short Leave series, along with some other great shows like Star Trek Monthly Monday, and such and so as from there. So anyway, with that, I am Sasha.
I'm Patrick.
And have a wonderful day.
Why am I interviewing you guys?
So you're the guest.
So Sasha, what is Star Trek
Hi,
Next
I'm
Generation?
the guest.
So Sasha, what is Star Trek?
Seek us out at Next Generation's First Generation at iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Music credits include Electric Car by Poddington Bear, Broke for Free, As Colorful as Ever, Drops of H2O by Jay Lang. Audio engineering by Sasha Shouties. Chief Meme Maker and episode cover credit goes to Matthew Kirshner. Logo and graphic art design credit goes to David Clawwitter. And special thanks to Patrick Delmore for working with other podcasts to make sure the good word gets out.
Do you have a podcast that you think people should be listening to? Send us your promos and we'll play them on the show. If you'd like to email the show, you can email us at nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com. I've been Patrick Delmore.
And this is Sasha Shouties. Thank you very much for listening, and have a wonderful day.
Good night.